You ever open a $1,000 electric bill and think, did I start mining crypto in my sleep? That was me, standing in my kitchen in socks and a flannel robe, staring at the bill like it had personally betrayed me. At first, I thought maybe I left the space heater on for a month straight, or my water heater was secretly running a hot tubbling on the side. But nope, the real culprit? A golf cart. A smug, gold-trimmed golf cart, and a woman named Beverly. I'd retired a year before this all started and moved into a quiet cul-de-sac in Cedar Hollow, hoping to spend my days building birdhouses and ignoring my phone. After 26 years as a systems engineer for a defense contractor, I was ready for a quieter life. I bought the place in cash, fixed up the shed, installed solar panels, smart meters, the whole 9 yards. I had the cleanest electrical footprint on the block, which made the sudden spike in usage feel less like a billing mistake and more like an invasion. And that's what it was. An invasion by Beverly Langstrom, president of the Ridgewood Estates HOA. Beverly introduced herself the day I moved in, handing me a 14-page welcome packet that looked more like a list of commandments. Lawns no taller than 3.25 inches, flags must be approved, trash bins in by 5 p.m., and no unauthorized modifications to outdoor utilities. I nodded, smiled, and figured if I kept to myself, she'd leave me alone. She didn't. Within 2 weeks, I was written up 3 times, once for my garage trim being eggshell instead of cloud white, once for leaving my garbage cans out 40 minutes too long, and once for the humming of classic rock while mowing the lawn, which, by the way, wasn't even in the rule book. She just didn't like my cover of Sweet Home Alabama. I kept things cordial until that bill came. Now, I know my system. I track everything. My peak draw never exceeds 4 kilowatt hours per hour. But this bill? It said I was using 3 times that amount, like I was running a hot yoga studio in my attic. So I started digging. I pulled the usage logs from the smart meter and saw massive spikes between 2 and 4 a.m. each night, traced directly to my detached shed, which I hadn't stepped into in weeks. Naturally, I thought maybe the wiring was shot or the old mini fridge was possessed. But then I remembered I had a security camera in the shed. So I checked the footage, and there she was, Beverly, in her robe, slippers, hair and curlers, waddling into my backyard at 2:13 a.m. like she had a mission from God. She opened my shed, pulled out a 50-foot extension cord, plugged it into my outdoor outlet, and then into her golf cart. This wasn't any golf cart either. It was pearl white with gold accents, leather seats, and a vanity plate that read HOA 1. Of course it did. She even said, and I quote, "Free power is the best power," before waddling back home like she hadn't just committed petty theft in bunny slippers. The next morning, I walked right up to her while she was watering her roses with a hose that looked more expensive than my mattress. "Morning, Beverly. Fun night last night?" She squinted. "Beg your pardon?" "The shed light came on around 2 a.m. Camera caught someone with your exact bathrobe plugging into my outlet. Ring any bells?" She paused for a second, then snapped, "That's not your outlet. It's community access. We share it." She lifted her chin like royalty. "Well, maybe if you weren't so stingy with your electricity, people wouldn't have to get creative." I didn't yell. I didn't lose my cool. But I did smile and say, "Got it. Thanks for clearing that up." An hour later, I got an email from the HOA. Subject, harassment complaint. According to Beverly, I'd confronted her with threatening language and made her feel unsafe on her own property. The letter warned me not to speak to her again unless another board member was present. Classic move. Accuse before you're accused. But Beverly underestimated one thing. I may be retired, but I spent 2 decades wiring military-grade surveillance systems, and I am really good with timers. So that night, I went to work. I built a custom smart timer rig using a Raspberry Pi, relay switch, a decoy voltage tester, and a kill circuit that cut power exactly 3 seconds after being plugged in. I made it so that after cutting, the system wouldn't reset for 2 hours. I disguised it as a surge protector with a little LED to make it look like it was working. That night, at 2:17 a.m., I got the alert. There she was, shuffling into my yard like a glittery ninja. She plugged in, waited, and the charging light blinked on. She smirked, patted the golf cart like it was her trusty steed, and strutted back home like she hadn't just committed petty theft in bunny slippers. 3 seconds later, the light blinked off. The next morning, I watched as Beverly climbed into her cart, turned the key, and nothing. The cart was dead. She frowned, tried again, still nothing. Then she brought in a handyman who plugged in a drill and it worked fine, but her golf cart? Dead. She glared at my house, stormed back inside. That night, she came back. Same time, same routine, same result. By day 4, she was visibly losing it. Her robe was wrinkled, her hair frazzled. She brought a clipboard and an inspector from the board, Carl, a guy with elbow patches and a Bluetooth headset. They poked around my shed like it was a forensic audit. Carl muttered about intermittent discharge irregularities, and Beverly pointed at my house with the fury of a Shakespeare villain. Later that day, another email hit my inbox. Subject: tampering with shared utilities. This one accused me of deliberately impeding essential charging infrastructure and threatened a $75 per day fine unless I removed the unauthorized circuitry. I laughed out loud. Then I sent the entire email chain and footage to Trent, a lawyer buddy from college. He called back and said, "Dude, you've got the petty HOA version of a rogue empire. You need to go full Emperor Palpatine on them." So I did. The next version of the timer was remote controlled. I could turn it on and off from my phone. Even better, I programmed a fake charging cycle into the cart's indicator. It looked like it was charging for hours, but it wasn't pulling a single amp. By the time she noticed, it was too late. Her cart would crawl halfway down the block, then die like a wounded gazelle. One morning, I watched her try to push it back home in flip-flops, muttering profanities under her breath. Another day, she brought a printed photo as evidence and tried to present it at the board meeting. It was just a blurry image of her cable sagging. "Look, voltage drop," she cried. Someone whispered, "That's just a sad cord," and half the room laughed. Then came the last straw. She tried to sabotage my panel at 2:30 a.m. Gloves, flashlight, bolt cutters. She crouched next to my shed and clipped the line. The thing is, the panel was a decoy I'd installed during a renovation. It sparked, but didn't cut power to anything. I caught the footage on my second camera, printed it, and took it to Trent. By noon, she had a restraining order on her doorstep. 2 days later, a full audit of the HOA was underway. Beverly had added dozens of emergency amendments over the years without proper votes. She'd fined people for wind chimes and lawn chairs. One guy got fined $50 for having a gnome that suggested religious bias. I'm not even kidding. The board voted her out in a landslide, reimbursed thousands in bogus fines, and passed a new bylaw letting residents recall board members with a simple majority vote. They called it, unironically, the Beverly Clause. That was 3 months ago. Beverly's golf cart still sits in her driveway, flat tires, cobwebs on the bumper, her lawn overgrown. A kid once drove it with a weed whacker. No one's touched it since. As for me, I got asked to help digitize the new bylaws. I even taught Carl how to use Google Sheets. He still double-clicks like he's afraid it'll break the internet. Every now and then, I walk past that dusty old shed, look at the outlet, and chuckle. It's still rigged, just in case, and there's even a little sign now. Charging station. 3 seconds of justice. Let me ask you this. If someone kept stealing from you night after night and got away with it because they made the rules, what would you do? Would you play by their game, or would you rewrite the circuit?